Hello, in this video I will take a deep dive into Iron Reaper's veterancy and skills. I'm Superkitowiec and I hope you will find it useful. I already did a first impressions video about them, so if you would like to see how my opinion changed, the link will be in the description. There are quite a lot of things that have been discovered about Reapers, so let's get straight to it. For starters, short info about weapon modes. Iron Reapers have swords and flails, which you can freely switch between. Swords do piercing and slashing damage, and they don't have anything special by themselves. Flails, however, do blunt damage and have special effect. They completely ignore block. So when Reapers hit the shields, they inflict 0 block damage and go straight for the HP. I will talk more about differences between weapons while describing their skills and veterancy. The Reaper's charge. Flail charge used to be their main thing, but it has changed. Currently, Flail's charge damage is bad. At first I thought there was no damage increase at all, but I settled it at around 20%. Note that skill description says 300%. It's really bad. You hit archer units for like 2000 damage. Only benefit to this skill is that when charging with flails, you always pierce enemy's block. So, if the target is actively blocking while hit, it will get stunned. Don't be mistaken, it doesn't deplete their block, it just puts them into a pierced state. Players can just roll out of it, but it's useful against shield walls. For swords, it's even worse because there is no block piercing and no damage increase at all. However, it seems that there is a CC resistance during sword charge. I didn't test it myself, so I will just put a link to Benjito's video for the reference. In conclusion, charge is weak, and its only use is to flail charge into shield wall to stun them or to quickly reposition your Reapers. Personally, I rarely use it offensively because the benefits are small and the risk of charging into pikes and having a bad time is high. Reworked Reapers got a new ability, Tiger Step. The description is not that good, so I will just ignore it and tell you what it actually does. Note that effects depends on which weapon you use. Let's start with the flails. The passive makes them move after hit, which honestly should be just the default behavior for them. Nothing to see here. After activation, they move a bit faster, stack up more densely, and in general get more aggressive. They also do short dashes, which deal small damage, knock back enemies, and pierce their block. To rephrase, if you are actively blocking, then you will be put into pierced state when hit by Reaper's dash. If you didn't know, pierced is a short stun which happens when your block gets depleted. Like with the charge, Reapers don't deplete block there, they just instantly put you into a pierced state. And now, Tiger Step with the swords. They have passive double strike. They may perform another attack right after hitting their target. I attribute it to this skill because I don't recall them doing it before rework. The funny thing is that the second attack is done without animation most of the time. So you can hit, for example, 8 targets with a single swing. I will talk more about that in a Veterancy section. When Tiger Step is active, their behavior is the same as with the flails, but there is no block piercing effect. Basically, it allows Reapers to close distance faster. And the last thing is that when Tiger Step is active, they get a small buff, which grants Reapers a complete resistance to CC for the whole duration. Yep, 20 seconds of CC resistance. In my opinion, this one little thing single-handedly invalidates flails. You can argue about blunt damage and so on, but you won't do much damage when on the ground. So yeah, just take swords, press 2 and enjoy. The Veterancy lines. Iron Reapers are one of the rare units which actually have multiple valid choices there. Because of that, I won't tell you which one is the best. I will point out which nodes are important, which are not worth it, and give examples of a few combinations I consider valid. To make it easier, I created this awesome picture which shows which nodes affect swords, flails and defense. I also marked most important nodes and the ones which I consider bugged or just not worth the points. Let's go through exceptional ones first. 15% infantry damage. It's self-explanatory. It's a huge boost of damage, but if you take it, you need to decide between stun and healing. Personally, I like stun and healing too much, so I didn't take this one. Hero Stun. It's a very strong node, because it allows your Reapers to lock down enemy players. What it does is that every regular attack with swords dazes the enemy player, and only swords. It has no effect on flails. Flail Knockdown. With this node, Reapers have a chance to knock down enemies when using flail. It's a quite strong effect, but because the flails are quite weak now, I didn't bother with it. I don't think it changed at all with rework, so if you want to see how it works, please take a look at my previous Reapers video. Link will be in the description. Healing. I like to keep my Reapers alive, so it's a must-have for me. Note that the effect is weaker than stated in the description. It heals for around 150 HP per second. However, because I spec mostly into defense, and I play them with the longsword, it increases their survivability quite a lot. And, as pointed out by Alan, 9% damage reduction. Note that it's not 9% more armor, it reduces all kinds of damage. It's a very good node to take if, for example, you go with the top line and stun. Now let's talk about nodes which I don't consider worth it. Attack speed nodes. They sound very good on paper, but I tested them myself before rework and tested them now, and I cannot see any correlation between Reaper's attack speed and these nodes. I mean, they attacked slower with 48% bonus than with 12% bonus. In my opinion, this should just be ignored. Sweeping Strike. It was quite a surprise to me, to be honest, because I always consider it in an important node. However, my test with Benjito showed that taking it basically makes no difference. Best we could do was 8 target hit with one swing when using a Sweeping Strike. Without it, the best we could do was also 8 targets. In practice, the difference is negligible. At the moment of recording this, I saw that a fix for Sweeping Strike is already coming, but even if it adds one more target, going for this node is still not worth it, unless you want to max mid lane anyways. And the last one, resupply cost reduction. Yeah, just that. Veterancy recommendations. Full top line plus stun plus rest in bot. If you want to deal tons of damage and stun lock players. Full top plus rest in the bot. If you want to deal tons of damage and not die in the process. Full mid line plus rest in whatever if you hail to the flail. And my current setup, defense focused. I focus on defense because in my opinion they kill enemies just fine, and as a longsword player I can keep them alive much longer. And by the way, if you are wondering why rear damage reduction, just take a look at this pic. It's from my Reaper vs Reaper test with Benjito. Rear attacks dealt the same damage as frontal ones, and with the way Reapers fight, they get hit in the backs all the time. I will post a link to this test from my perspective in the description. In general, I really recommend focusing on swords. With CC resistance and double hits, they feel a bit OP now. So with that in mind, you just need to decide if you want to go more into damage or defense. Just make sure to grab a few of the exceptional nodes I mentioned earlier. As for Doctrines, I use these ones. Iron Reapers don't have access to many epic Doctrines because they are a unique unit type. Only epic one I want to put on them is a Siege Fighter. because tests showed that it grants a much bigger damage increase than regular damage doctrines. The Shield Doctrine is the one that comes from Shield Maiden's seasonal challenges. Okay, with all that said, how to play them. For the weapon mode, I must exclusively use swords. Yes, flails have their uses, you can punch through shields and stun shielded units, but on the other hand you have CC immunity. Just imagine what happens when 5 muskets throw bombs at you. Remember that the Tiger Step is now your most important skill, you should not engage without it. Charge is best used to close distance to unprotected ranged units or to break shield walls with flail. But in most engagements you just want to use swords, move Reapers close to the enemy and activate Tiger Step. Important note, Tiger Step won't free Reapers from CC like Greyhair's skills do. You need to activate before CC lands. In general, you can beat most of the other units, even multiple at once, but there are some which you should be wary of. From my experience, the biggest threats to Reapers are Cavalry. They will flatten you if you get charged, so avoid it at any cost. Greyhairs. They keep you occupied for too long. You will kill them, but your Tiger Step will expire and you will be vulnerable to reinforcements, stuns from enemy players and so on. Other Reapers. It depends on Veterancy. Top plus bottom Reapers should win with any other build. Javelineers. They can snipe some models from the distance. Don't let them do it. Muskets, Pavis, Namkhans. Avoid situation where you fight in melee under their fire. Braced Pikes, Modaos, Imperial Pike Guards. Just don't charge into them. Kill them with swords and Tiger Step. Azaps. I didn't test it myself, but I saw a vid in which Azap destroys Sword Reapers and lose to Flail. We'll post a link in the description. As for general gameplay, you need to remember to fall back in the right moments. If you see too many high threat units engaging on you, just run. If you fight with Greyhairs and then Berserkers come when your Tiger Step has already expired, you will have a really bad time. If things go sideways, you can press the Tiger Step if available and run. CC immunity will allow you to pull out most of your unit and then charge in the opposite direction. That is another reason why I like to focus on defense. With such setup, you can pull out your unit when it's in the middle of the fight. For example, Paladins drop like flies when they turn their backs to the enemies. With rear damage reduction, it's not the case for the Reapers. Keep in mind that I play them with a longsword, which provides healing and additional damage reduction. With other classes, you will need to be more cautious. In the end, it all comes down to playstyle. To wrap things up, the new Iron Reapers are a very powerful and versatile unit. Despite many complaints about the quality of this rework, I think that it put Reapers back into the fight. I had much success with them, and playing them is a lot more enjoyable than before. Just remember to use swords and focus on proper Tiger Step management. With their new tools, Iron Reapers wreak havoc and are a real threat on the battlefield. At this point, I would like to make a shout out to Alan's CB Analyst Discord. There is a lot of useful information shared on a regular basis, and if you like to dive deep into game mechanics, this place is for you. Note that a lot of information which I shared in this video is a result of long discussions we had on this server. Link will be in the description. That was all I had to share. Hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please leave a like, subscribe and take a look at my other videos. Thank you for watching and see you next time.